Have you seen this symbol before? It is impossible not to consider the swastika. For some, it represents peace, prosperity, and spirituality. But for many, it is an emblem of hatred, destruction, and one of the darkest periods in human history. But how did this happen? How was a symbol with thousands of years of positive meaning transformed into an icon of terror by Nazism? And most importantly, can we still recover what he originally did? Today we're going to dive deep into the history of the swastika. Stay with me because by the end of this video, you will have a new perspective on the power and handling of symbols over time. Have you seen this symbol before? It is impossible not to consider the swastika. For some, it represents peace, prosperity, and spirituality. But for many, it is an emblem of hatred, destruction, and one of the darkest periods in human history. But how did this happen? How was a symbol with thousands of years of positive meaning transformed into an icon of terror by Nazism? And most importantly, can we still recover what he originally did? Today we're going to dive deep into the history of the swastika. Stay with me because by the end of this video, you will have a new perspective on the power and handling of symbols over time. The appropriation by Nazi Germany. At the beginning of the 20th century, the swastika was rediscovered by nationalist movements in Europe. They misinterpreted the symbol as an emblem of Aryan purity. When Adolf Hitler introduced the swastika as the official symbol of the Nazi Party in 1920, its transformation began. Why did Hitler choose the swastika? Hitler believed that the swastika represented a link to the supposed racial superiority of the Aryans. He incorporated it into the Nazi flag, combining it with the colors black, white, and red, creating a visually powerful and intimidating symbol. Question: why did the swastika become such an effective Nazi symbol? Answer: because symbols have power. They evoke emotions and can unite people around an idea, positive or negative. The impact of transformation. During the Nazi regime, the swastika became synonymous with oppression, genocide, and war. From a symbol of good luck, it was transformed into an emblem of the Holocaust, used on flags, uniforms, and propaganda. After the defeat of Nazi Germany, many countries such as Germany banned the public use of the swastika to prevent the glorification of Nazism. But the association between the symbol and hatred was already deeply rooted. Question: is it possible to separate the modern swastika from its Nazi association? Answer: this is a debated question to this day, and the answer depends on the cultural and historical context in which the symbol is used. Appropriation and modern context of the swastika. The historical impact of Nazi Germany's appropriation of the swastika was so profound that, even after the fall of the regime, the symbol continued to be used by extremist groups around the world. Today, the swastika remains a controversial emblem, carrying different meanings depending on who uses it and the context in which it appears. In this part, we will explore how the swastika is used in the contemporary world, both by extremists and by cultures trying to preserve its original meaning. The swastika as a symbol of hate in the modern world. Even after World War II, the swastika continued to be used by neo-Nazi movements and white supremacist groups. They adopted the symbol as a way of expressing support for Adolf Hitler's ideology and promoted racial intolerance. Neo-Nazi groups. In public demonstrations and online propaganda, the swastika is often displayed by groups that defend racial superiority and deny the Holocaust. In the United States, for example, groups such as the Ku Klux Klan and other extremist movements use the swastika as a marker of ideological identity. Vandalism and intimidation. The swastika is also used as a tool of intimidation. It is often painted in schools, synagogues, and minority neighborhoods as a deliberate act of hate. These acts of vandalism send a clear message: the presence of racist and neo-Nazi ideologies is still a frightening reality. Question: why does the swastika continue to be so widely used by extremist groups? Answer: because it has become a recognized symbol of hatred and power among those who share these beliefs, functioning as a visual battle cry. The fight to preserve the original meaning of the swastika. While the swastika has been turned into a symbol of hate in much of the West, many cultures continue to use it with its original, positive meanings. In India and Southeast Asia, the swastika remains a sacred symbol in Hinduism, Buddhism, and Jainism. It is common to see it in temples, weddings, and religious celebrations, representing good luck, prosperity, and harmony. However, Western tourists are often shocked to see the swastika in spiritual contexts, not understanding its cultural significance. Reframing movements. Some academics and religious leaders have advocated reframing the swastika in the West, arguing that it is an injustice to allow a specific regime to destroy thousands of years of positive symbolism. In 2020, the international Buddhist community launched campaigns to educate the public about the swastika, highlighting its difference from the Nazi version, which is usually tilted at 45 degrees. Question: can the swastika be given new meaning in the West? Answer: this is possible, but it requires a massive cultural and historical education effort to overcome the trauma associated with the symbol. The Internet and the dissemination of ideologies. The Internet plays a central role in the way the swastika is perceived and used in the modern world. Online spaces for extremists. Forums such as 4chan, 8kun and Telegram are used by extremist groups to promote the use of the swastika and other hate symbols. Memes that include the swastika are often created to appeal to young people by presenting the symbol in an ironic or humorous way. Digital education. At the same time, the Internet also provides an opportunity to educate people about the true historical significance of the swastika. Museums, educational institutions and human rights organizations use digital platforms to tell the symbol's story and combat its association with hate. Question: is the Internet an ally or enemy in preserving the meaning of the swastika? Answer: it depends on how we use it. It can spread hate, but it also has the power to inform and educate. Regulations and laws regarding the use of swastika. In response to the swastika's association with Nazism, many countries have introduced laws to limit or ban its use. Germany. The use of the swastika and other Nazi symbols is prohibited by law except in educational or historical contexts, such as films or exhibitions. Germany adopted these measures to avoid any glorification of Nazism and combat neo-Nazi movements. Other countries. In countries such as Brazil and Austria, the use of the swastika is also illegal in contexts that promote hatred or extremist ideologies. However, in nations where the swastika has spiritual meanings such as India and Japan, these prohibitions do not apply, highlighting the cultural difference in understanding of the symbol. Question: do these bans help combat extremism? Answer: they help restrict the public use of the symbol, but by themselves they do not solve the problem of extremist ideologies. The duality of the swastika meaning today. The swastika represents a unique duality. It is a symbol of peace and harmony in one context and of hatred and destruction in another. This complexity creates important challenges for its interpretation in the modern world. Question: can we accept the duality of the swastika, or will one meaning always prevail? Answer: the accessibility of duality depends on our ability to educate people and provide the correct historical context for its use. Current debate and social impact of the swastika. The meaning of the swastika continues to generate heated debate in the modern world. Its duality, as a symbol of hate in some contexts and of spirituality in others, creates social, cultural, and political challenges. In this section, we explore the impact of the swastika on contemporary society and the debates surrounding its interpretation. 1. The swastika controversy in the West. In Western countries, the swastika is widely associated with Nazism and the horrors of World War II. For many people, seeing the symbol evokes memories of genocide, war, and oppression. Cultural misunderstandings. A common example of controversy occurs when Western tourists visit Asian countries and see swastikas in temples, homes, and religious celebrations. Without knowing the historical and cultural context, these people often assume that the symbol is being used in an offensive way. This culture clash demonstrates how historical trauma can overshadow older, more positive meanings. Question: how can we educate people to differentiate the uses of the swastika? Answer: cultural and historical education is essential, especially in a globalized world where symbols can be misinterpreted in different contexts. The use of the swastika by extremist groups. In the West, the swastika remains a powerful symbol for neo-Nazi and white supremacist movements. Its use in these contexts perpetuates hatred and keeps the memory of the Nazi regime alive. Vandalism. Cases of vandalism involving a swastika are frequent. In 2023, a synagogue in the United States was spray-painted with swastikas, sparking outrage and fear in the local community. Online advertising. Extremist groups continue to use swastikas in memes and videos, often disguising their message of hate under a veil of humor or irony. Question: are laws prohibiting the use of the swastika sufficient to contain extremism? Answer: while helpful in limiting its public display, these laws need to be complemented by efforts to dismantle the ideologies that drive extremism. Efforts to reframe the swastika. Some religious and cultural leaders argue that the swastika should be revived as a symbol of peace and spirituality, especially in Asian contexts. Education campaigns. In 2020, Buddhist and Hindu leaders launched the Rescuing the Swastika campaign, aiming to inform Western audiences about its original meaning. Design changes. Some organizations have suggested visual changes to the traditional swastika, such as different cores or orientations, to help differentiate contexts. Question: is it possible to rescue the swastika from its association with Nazism? Answer: it is a complex and slow process, but education and intercultural dialogue can help restore its original meaning in some communities. 4. The swastika in media and popular culture. The representation of the swastika in the media and popular culture is also a source of debate. Films and series. Productions such as Schindler's List and Jojo Rabbit use the swastika to portray Nazism, but always in historical or critical contexts. Some argue that these depictions help educate the public, while others believe they can perpetuate the trauma associated with the symbol. Prohibition on games and entertainment products. Games like Call of Duty often remove the swastika from their versions for sensitive markets, updating it with other symbols. These changes generate debates about censorship and historical damage. Question: is representing the swastika in the media educating or perpetuating its use? Answer: it depends on the context. When used to educate about the Holocaust and Nazism, it can be a powerful tool to prevent the reproduction of history. 5. The role of social media in the current debate. Social media amplifies the impact of the swastika, both as a symbol of hate and as an object of debate. Spread of hate. Platforms like 4chan and Telegram are known for hosting extremist content that uses the swastika as a central symbol. Education and awareness. On the other hand, human rights organizations and historians use networks like Instagram and TikTok to demystify the symbol and educate the public. Question: does social media help or hinder understanding the swastika? Answer: both. While they serve as megaphones for extremist ideologies, they can also be used to educate and combat hate. Psychological and cultural impact of the swastika. For many people, especially Holocaust survivors and their descendants, the swastika is a symbol of pain and trauma. Collective memory. The swastika carries the weight of historical events that cannot be ignored, making it difficult to dissociate its Nazi use. Caution in public use. Even in religious contexts, it is important to approach the use of the swastika with sensitivity, respecting those who have suffered because of it. Question: how can we balance respecting historical trauma and preserving the cultural significance of the swastika? Answer: through open dialogue and recognition of different perspectives around the symbol. The swastika debate continues to be complex and multifaceted. While some communities try to preserve its original meaning, others struggle to overcome the trauma it represents. The social impact of the swastika shows how symbols have the power to unite or divide, depending on the context in which they are used. Historical lessons and reflections on the swastika. The story of the swastika is a powerful example of how symbols can be manipulated to convey significantly different meanings. She teaches us about the power of visual communication, the impact of cultural appropriation, and the importance of context in interpreting symbols. In this final section, we reflect on the lessons that the story of the swastika offers us and how we can apply this learning to build a more conscious and inclusive future. 1. The transformative power of symbols. The swastika began as an emblem of harmony, prosperity, and spirituality. However, in a short historical period, it was transformed into a symbol of hatred and oppression. What does this teach us? Symbols are not static. Their meaning can change depending on who uses them and the context in which they are applied. Intentional appropriation. Ideological groups may deliberately distort symbols for their own ends, using them as tools of cultural and political manipulation. Question: could other symbols that are widely used today also be protected and distorted in the future? Answer: yes, the story of the swastika shows that any symbol can be reinterpreted depending on the social and political forces at play. The importance of historical and cultural context. The duality of the swastika, a sacred symbol in some cultures and an emblem of hate in others, highlights the importance of understanding the context in which a symbol is used. Respect for differences. In Asian cultures, the swastika is still a sacred symbol that represents good luck and spirituality. Recognizing this helps avoid misunderstandings and bias. Global education. A lack of understanding about the original meaning of the swastika often leads to exaggerated or unfair reactions, especially in multicultural environments. Question: how can we prevent symbols from being judged out of context? Answer: promoting intercultural education and encouraging dialogue about the historical and cultural meaning of symbols. Dealing with historical trauma. The swastika also teaches us about the impact of historical trauma and how it can shape the perception of symbols for generations. Collective memory. For Holocaust survivors and their descendants, the swastika is a painful reminder of genocide and persecution. Respecting this trauma is crucial to avoid revictimization. Cautious reframing. Any attempt to recover the original meaning of the swastika must be done with extreme sensitivity, considering the psychological impact it still has on many people. Question: is it possible to give new meaning to the swastika without ignoring the trauma it carries? Answer: perhaps, but it requires a delicate balance between respect for the past and education about the original meaning of the symbol. Education as a tool for change. One of the greatest lessons from the story of the swastika is that education has the power to transform perceptions and combat hate. Educate about history. Teaching about the original use of the swastika and its appropriation by Nazism helps to demystify the symbol and combat extremism. Promote critical thinking. Education about how symbols can be manipulated, encouraging people to question and resist ideological propaganda. Question: is education enough to change public perception of symbols like the swastika? Answer: it is a crucial step, but it needs to be combined with policies of inclusion and combating extremism. 5. The importance of collective responsibility. Dealing with the meaning of the swastika is a responsibility that falls on governments, educators, organizations, and individuals. Governments. They must balance the protection of freedom of expression with the need to avoid glorifying hateful ideologies. Human rights organizations. We need to continue educating the public about the impact of extremist symbols. Individuals. Every person can play a role in promoting respectful conversations and educating themselves about the history of symbols. Question: what can each of us do to promote a more conscious use of symbols? Answer: learn, educate, and create spaces for dialogue that encourage empathy and respect for different cultural interpretations. The story of the swastika is a reminder that symbols have the power to unite or divide. They are visual tools that can convey profound messages and shape societies. But, as we have seen, their meaning depends on the context and intentions of the person using them. Today, more than ever, we need to be vigilant about how symbols are used in our societies. The swastika teaches us that, although we will never forget its use as an emblem of hatred, it is also possible to recover an understanding of its original meaning in contexts that promote peace and harmony. In this video, we explore the history, appropriation, social impact, and lessons left by the swastika. Now it's your turn to act. Share this video, educate yourself, and help create a world where hate has no place.